Boom! Welcome back to another episode of a Bump by Bump Rundown.
Roof.
My name is Danny Bedrosian.
George, Dr. Funkenstein Clinton here.
We got a really special episode for you guys today, but before we do that, I want you to check out George's Patreon. It's www.patreon.com/GeorgeClintonPfunk. You can check out all kinds of new songs, unreleased songs that he is gifting to his $20 patrons. The unreleased Funkadelic album, The Last Time Zone, is being dissected song by song, month by month for the patrons only. This is an album that's never come out. Was supposed to come out around 99, 2000.
Right, yeah.
And so it's 25 years in the making. And the patrons can get it now if they join George's Patreon. Also, like, follow, and subscribe to this video. This YouTube channel helps us with the algorithm. And without further ado, we are doing another song, another Bump by Bump rundown. This month, You're Not Hurting Him.
You're Hurting Me.
By the Parliaments. Now, this kind of goes against some of our rules, in that it's the only song on our list that never really came out. Well, Sunday Kind of Love too, but
Right, Sunday Kind of Love that never came out.
This is a different story. Explain to the
It was
people.
a demo of back in the day when we first started working with Jojet, which is Motown publisher, probably 62. Yeah, right around in there, 61, 62. When we just started working for Gordy in New York at the Brill Building. It was one of the demos we were doing. George Kerr, who ended up doing The Moments and Blue Magic and a lot of that stuff with Sylvia Roberts. Sidney Barnes, who became a member of the Rotary Connection with Minnie Riperton.
Yeah.
They were our bosses. You know, Fuzzy, myself, Grady, we were trying to be songwriters in the early, you know,
early 60s.
yeah. And You're Not Hurting Him, You're Hurting Me is a song that we was really excited about. We thought we was going to get signed to Motown. We really didn't realize that in New York you wasn't getting signed to Motown.
Right.
You know, but it was a demo that was really popular within the company.
Yeah.
Just like That Was My Girl was with Golden World and Jojet, you know, because we were still working for Jojet at that time. This song is one that somebody found the paperwork or a copy of it. I haven't heard it lately.
Yeah.
But somebody in Amsterdam found a copy of it, the same ones that found my contract at Jojet.
Yeah, wow.
Motown.
And we'll give a little shout out to the Konings brothers, the twins as we know them. This book is actually their book. It's the pictorial history of P-Funk, George Clinton and P-Funk, and it's got a really cool, all the album covers, basically. It's all the album covers to the albums in chronological order, and they included this because Arno Konings is a huge fan of that song, and, you know, them finding the song and all that stuff. So they took a picture of the, what would you call it? I mean, the record, the demo.
Test pressing.
The test pressing, yeah, exactly.
Did they have a copy? Yeah, they had a copy of it. They were supposed to have sent me a copy of it.
And
they sent me the contract with Motown. They found that. These guys are some magicians.
Explain to the uninitiated who Ray Gordy is, too.
Ray Gordy is Berry Gordy's first wife, you know, when they was teenagers, because she was 19 when we went to work for her.
Wow.
So they had to be very young, but that was his first wife. They separated, and she ended up with the publishing for a minute, and he had the record label.
Gotcha.
And then they switched it around once they took whatever business they had to take care of.
And she was running Jojet for all
She was
intents
running
and purposes.
Jojet, and we was working for her. And we was, what was in my book, we was bootlegging my guy to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I talked to Kerry Gordy, who's Barry's son.
Yes.
Who we used to babysit him at the office.
Wow.
So now he's the big wig, and I always remind him, I used to babysit you.
And then 30 years later, he helped produce Martial Law and
Paint the White House Black.
Yeah, that's
so
wild.
I mean, it's all once you're in the funk or Motown, you're always there one way
like
or another.
The family or the mob or something.
The mob.
So for You're Not Hurting Him, You're Hurting Me, it seems like this is one of the early, one of the first records to have the 5 parliaments that we know of as the parliament.
Fuzzy, Grady.
Calvin, Ray, and you.
I don't, maybe he asked me. Yeah.
Because it's around that time that Fuzzy and Ray kind of jumped ship from their groups. And,
it seemed like,
I think that you had told me it was them.
It would have been, that was, when I went to Joe Bet, it would have been them, yeah.
And that's right. That's really the beginning of that 5. That's
right.
Of that particular combination.
Yeah, Lonely Island.
We talked about how
even that one had some other members.
Had different members. Yeah. And You Make Me Want to Cry.
Yeah. Yeah. So this would have been the first thing. You're Not Hurting Him, You're Hurting Me, and that was my girl.
Yeah, because like when we talked about Sunday Kind of Love, Lonely Island and that Grady and Calvin were already there, but the rest of the guys were different.
Yeah.
And by the time we get to Joe Bet, it's more the people that people think of.
Right.
And then this is an interesting. I want to run down the lineup of musicians that you said are on this. Bernard Purdy on the drums.
Oh yeah, Bernard Purdy was. I always remember that because all those demos that we were doing for Joe Bet at the time, all the musicians we were using in New York became pretty famous. Eric Gales, guitar, Bernard, Winston.
Yeah.
All of those people became stars of their own, and Bernard just was getting out of the army.
Yeah.
That Pretty at Work
right.
sign, he wrote it at the demo sessions for Joe Bet with George, Kurt, Sidney, and myself.
Wow.
And he became really popular right doing those demos and that era of R&B music.
Yeah, he's on so many sessions. And then, like you said, Eric Gales on guitar, another big hitter. Yeah. Winston on bass, and Richard T.
Richard T was like the arranger. Him and this kid J.J. Jackson say it's all right. Those two worked together.
Yeah,
they were.
He got a lot of writers for stuff.
Yeah.
J.J. Jackson.
Yeah, him and Richard T worked together. And Richard T was the piano player.
Yeah,
that arranged a lot of people's work at that time, and he became famous himself. Producing and writing.
That's what Richard T.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did he do later? He did something later that was a big hit. What was it, like a decade later?
They had a group called him and the Brecker Brothers.
Oh, okay.
They do, I forget the name of their group. Somebody is going to call you and let you know.
Yeah, somebody's going to tell us in the comments.
Because they got pretty popular, especially when we put out Bootsy.
Okay.
When we put out Bootsy, a lot of bands from, say, session musicians got together and put out bands,
Kind of like George Duke.
Like George Duke and Stanley Clark.
Yeah, they were doing
And they had a name, what's his name from Detroit? A guitar player.
Not Ricky Rouse.
Not Ricky Rouse, played on our records.
Ray Manette?
Not Ray, the other.
Dennis Coffey.
Dennis Coffey. Dennis and them had a group that was just like, I get their names mixed up with the ones you was just talking about. Richard T. now.
Richard T. and them, yeah.
It's a one-word name. I just can't.
It's not. Oh, okay, gotcha. Man, okay.
Richard T. and oh my God.
Now Richard T. He did arrangements on other stuff for you, like what's the song? I Say Yeah. Didn't he play on that too? The organ on.
Yeah.
Isn't that him?
Oh yeah.
He did.
I think he did the arrangement for my boyfriend.
I think he did the arrangement on that.
No.
Didn't he?
No, that was our boys. That was our boys from Plainfield.
He played on an organ on it though.
Oh yeah, he played organ on it. But that we actually
Parlor Productions.
Yeah.
Parlor Productions.
Yeah.
They were the producers.
Oh, the Pets.
The Pets,
Joe Evans.
Joe Evans, yeah.
So that was Carnival Records.
Yes, Carnival Records.
That's Joe Evans. He's a Motown. He's the one that did the arrangement.
Okay.
Yeah, he was from Motown.
Yeah.
He's one of those ones came from Motown to New Jersey, and he did the what you call them, Manhattans.
Yeah, Manhattan.
That was his group.
And he produced West Side Party, which is the B-side for I Say Yeah. I think.
Yeah, and that was his label that we put the Pets out on.
Carnival.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, but this one, You're Not Hurting Him, this is Joe Bett.
That's Joe Bett.
And tell people what happened to Joe Bett. Tell people what happened to the Joe Bett publishing arm.
Oh, still became the biggest publishing company in the world for years. But just that once Barry and Ray settled whatever they, once he realized that there was the publishing that was bigger than the label.
Right, because he kind of let her have it at first.
He let her have it at first, and you find out later because it was all kids.
Yeah.
You find out that was the biggest arm of the company. We was submitting songs to, like I say, to Elvis's, to Tony Bennett's.
Yeah.
And we were submitting songs and being in New York in the Brill Building. Everybody wanted a Motown song.
Yeah.
So that was the big thing, and we was up there. We was scandalized because we couldn't get the rent paid or the lights on.
Oh no!
So like I said, we was up there bootlegging My Guy, which was the big Motown record.
Yeah, and who was it that did My Guy, the original?
Mary Wells.
Mary Wells.
Mary Wells.
Yeah.
So we actually had records selling them out of the trunk.
That's so funny.
Which a lot of people did in those days.
Yeah.
To get records played. I mean, it was a brand new industry. So they came up and found out we was, bootlegging the record. They threw us all out. FBI came in there.
Oh, really?
I think it was personal. I think they was dressed as FBI.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, they settled it. Ray got a big chunk of money.
Oh, did she? Yeah.
She got a big chunk of money, and she gave them the company back. And I think she had a company called Shield or something like that. I forget his name, but I'll think of it in a minute. But anyway, she started her own company, which was Benny Medina, which is a famous.
Yeah.
He was a kid, and he was part of the group. Norman Whitfield's son.
Wow.
Probably, if I'm not mistaken, it may even been Lenny Kravitz.
Oh, wow.
It's another boy, Tony. He ended up on Paisley Park with Prince.
Oh.
They all it was a group that they all were kids in. One was called Apollo.
Okay.
And then and Carrie Gordy, and they grew up together. All those I watched them all grew up from Ray's kids.
They're Ray's kids. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
And the kids that they're friends.
Yeah, because a lot of the stories go that Barry shut down Ray's control of Joe Bett in New York City.
Yeah, well,
he kind of shut the doors on that New York.
And they renegotiated whatever they did because she ended up getting a few bucks, and they had her own label.
Right, because it was kind of Motown East.
Yeah, but it was Motown.
But then he put the kibosh on it, right?
Yeah, he realized not only was it the biggest part of the thing that they owned, we was up there bootlegging,
right.
And they were already had gone big time, and we was up there still doing the ghetto thing,
gotcha.
Trying to keep lights on.
Yeah,
and theirs was personal. We didn't know what was going on there. We just all knew we wanted to be part of Motown. We didn't care what was going on.
There was some domestic intranquility kind of
and when
mixed
she
up.
lost that, I went out to Detroit.
Right, you went straight to the source.
I went straight to the source and went to Golden World, which was their competition for a minute.
Yeah, Ed Wingate.
They ended up buying Golden World, and we was right back along with Edwin Starr. We was right back on Motown again.
Wow.
And we had, got away from that, and we ended up with Eddie Holland, Doja Holland.
Yes.
That was, what was that? Invictus.
Yeah.
And Hot Wax.
Hot Wax.
So we always intended to be part of that Motown school of music.
Yeah.
No matter what it took.
Yeah.
I didn't care how we did it. Like I say, Joe Bett was the ideal because that was right there in New York, and our version of it, but we was moving too fast. They were still dealing with being head of the thing out in Detroit, and New York was a real fast city, so we was actually jumping in the way probably with a lot of stuff,
right,
with the connections we could make.
That East Coast energy.
Yeah, it was probably too, and that was like personal, like I say, that's the marriage and stuff.
Yeah.
They had to get that part of it together, but at the same time, the Motown wheel was moving so hard.
Yeah, yeah.
There wasn't no stopping.
No,
that.
it had a life of its own already by that point.
Yeah, you know, so every time you turn around, every week there was a new artist.
Yeah.
That was bigger than the last ones.
Right.
You know, so you could be mad, but you ain't going nowhere. You still want to be part of this.
I really wanted to, I thought it was cool that we got to focus on this period of time because the period right before that is well known. You know, Poor Willie, Party Boys, and the 50s period. Everybody knows the doo-wop era.
Yeah.
And then there's the Golden World Revelot mid to late 60s era, which I guess would
and this
start
is
around,
in the middle of that.
and this is in between those two times.
Yeah, right.
And it's kind of the dark ages, discographically speaking, because there's
And
not
at
a
the
lot of
same-
stuff.
At the same time we were doing the Jojet thing, we run into a guy named Gene Red,
Right.
who has the Cool in the Gang.
Yeah.
He did their stuff, and he was a friend of Ernie Harris, who, you know, worked in the barbershop with us.
Right.
So we ended up being a part of his little writing clique, along with Cecil Holmes, Ronnie Mosley, who became Neil Bogart's cohorts in Buddha and Casablanca. Those guys were all teenagers, the Solitaires in the 58, 59, singing doo-wop,
Right.
became the next, you know, Buzzy Willis. They became the next New York scene with was it Ike and Tina, not Ike and Tina Turner, Inez and Charlie Fox, and, you know, Dionne Warwick and Burt Bacharach. All of that became that era you're talking about.
Right.
We was working with all those people, the Fiestas, that was our neighbors right on Bergen Street in Newark. All of that was part of that couple of years, you know, maybe 63 and 4, just prior to, you know, going out to Detroit and getting testified in 67.
Okay. Wow. Okay, well, you heard it first, you guys. You're not hurting him, you're hurting me. On a bump-by-bump rundown this month. Check out George's Patreon. It's patreon.com/George Clinton P Funk. Check out the YouTube page. Like, follow, and subscribe. Hit the bell so you know when new videos are available. My name is Danny Bedrosian.
George Dr. Funkenstein Clinton here.
And you have been witnessing a bump-by-bump rundown.
Roof.